Yo guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Chelsea Explained, and I hope you're doing fantastic. In this video, I'm gonna do something different. We're just gonna jump in Football Manager, chill with a Chelsea team, and I'm gonna try and explain the dilemmas and the problems Maresca is facing, and that he needs to figure out what he wants to do in the end. So have this video in the background, listening, chilling out, and hear out my explanations. And I will also happily just read your thoughts, what you think Maresca could do to solve these problems he's facing, and we can have the discussion going on down in the comments. So before we dive deeper into this video, if you're brand new here, of course, and want to be a legend, make sure you like this video, subscribe to my page, hit that notification bell down below so you never miss when the content drops. So let's jump into Football Manager. I tried my best to create Maresca's tactics and the lineup. I'm not sure it's fully spot on. It could be something wrong here. But I would just want to focus on just explaining where I think Maresca has issues. And sure, he's trying out different things now, and he's gonna see how it goes, what works the best for us, but eventually he needs to figure out what he wants and go for it and never look back. Literally, we can't going back and forth having James, Gust on the left hand side and they are on the right hand side. Sometimes they make a makeshift back three, sometimes they go into the middle, sometimes they're occupying the offensive half spaces. Same goes with Cucurella. Sometimes we have different pivot in Lavia Caicedo, and sometimes we have Enzo Fernandez there. He is allowed to try out in his first season, I think, in some games and just see what it gives you. Because if you don't try out things, you will never know. But there are some issues that needs to be addressed. I will try to explain it. I'm just gonna explain shortly the tactics here I created. We see Maresca playing a 4-2-3-1, and then it changed in, to 3-2-4-1, like this in possession, and then you're having the center backs here like wide. In the tactics, I put the mentality on positive because Maresca wants to hold in possession, be patient, put on shorter passing, slightly higher tempo. We play with fairly we like to use some underlapping runs, mostly from Gusto since he's attacking the off space and making underlapping runs, mostly in low driven crosses inside the box. I mean, I could take on run at defense but it's mostly wingers that running against the defense and taking on the fullbacks. I don't really need to check that. Counter pressing when possession has been lost. Sometimes after it has been lost we counter, but sometimes we go back to our shape. So that's why I haven't taken any of these on. Sanchez like to play out in the build-up play with kicks. That's what Maresca wants with his sweeper keeper. Our defensive shape is mostly a high press with a high defensive line. We like to step up with the center back to cover this space behind. And then we like to trap opposition outside and inviting crosses sometimes. We like to really focus on protecting the middle first and then out wide. So inviting a lot of crosses, and we trigger press more often than not and prevent short goal distribution. Also change the ball playing defender on stopper, because actually Fofana is going up and trying to he's stepping up and trying to stop the opposition. This is how we start most of the games when the season started, in this lineup and the players in this certain position. So we had Gusto coming in here with Caicedo. Fernandes were going up in the half space with Palmer, and Cucurella tucking aside, creating this back three. The problem we faced here is that Gusto couldn't do this role. He couldn't invert into midfield because he's not good enough in possession. Cucurella tucking inside here, our makeshift back three of these three is really strong. Then we had Fernandes going up here, Palmer occupying this half space role, Caicedo going to this side. Sancho, Modric taking on players, and Jackson completes forward. He can move into channels here, assist, he can drop down, and he can also create for himself going forward. That's what put complete forward on him. And the issues was, first of all, Gusto couldn't go into the midfield. Enzo Fernandez could go up and down to a decent extent, but he's not that box-to-box midfield that can just cover these spaces because he's not quick enough and he missed time a lot of tackles. For me, if Enzo Fernandez is gonna go forward, he needs to be in a midfield three in a 4-3-3. But if he's utilizing a pivot, he's gonna be the deep line playmaker around here that dictates the tempo and utilizing his passing abilities. And then in some rare occasions, he can join and go forward. So we had two major issues here, Gusto and Fernandez. So what Maresca did instead was to put James as an inverted fullback here now recently, and he utilized Gusto as an attacking inverting wingback that actually going up here in the half space. He also took out Enzo Fernandez and put Lavi in this pivot, and Lavi is playing more as I think I see that as a ball-winning midfield support maybe. I think so. I'm not solely sure here because, and the issues here is, I mean, the first, yeah, and then we had Neto here. I forgot, sorry. And Palmer was playing more a sort of support role, and we have problems in this setup too that Maresca's face now. Gusto has actually replaced Enzo Fernandez. It's not Lavia that has replaced Enzo because Lavia is not utilizing the role going up and down. He's staying here in a pivot with Caicedo. James is playing on this side because he's making this makeshift back three. For some reason, Maresca thought that would be great and try out and have a right-footed centre back as a wide centre back. It would be better to just have Cucurella here, in my opinion. But James has done a good job here, all right job. And then we're having Gusto occupying this half space recent games. Now Gusto is fast, has a lot of stamina, work rate, so he has the ability to bomb up and down. It's just that he doesn't have that attacking threat when he goes up here making underlapping runs, putting in passes, or as we saw against Arsenal, he missed a header from 1 meter in open net. He's not that attacking box threat. He's a player that would like to make overlaps outside, and then you're having a winger cutting inside instead. So that has been a problem. And when you also have Gusto running up here, therefore Palmer moves actually to the left hand side. And when he moves to the left hand side, he can of course make runs here and put in low driven crosses to Gusto, Madueke, Jackson that's attacking the box and Neto coming in behind. And he can also find Neto making runs here. So if Palmer is here, you have Neto making runs here. Like, yeah, I hope that makes sense. So I can see the benefits of Palmer utilized there, but you're not getting his shooting abilities. He can't really cut inside and have a shot. And he's been marked out of the game, so he's been more of a support player that drops down, linking the midfield. Also because we don't have this deep line playmaker and the midfielder with passing abilities like an Enzo Fernandez. So Palmer has therefore been dropping down deeper, and that leaves Jackson dropping down deeper. and we don't have them players running behinds like Madueke and Neto because they're staying so wide. It's only like Gusto that makes those runs. This setup has allowed us to become more defensive solid because Olavio gives more protection than Enzo. We're facing problems in the final third because Gusto cannot execute this role with offensive contribution, with goals and assists. And Palmer can't cut inside with his shots and be more threatful. And we're losing those switch balls, long passing abilities, manipulating space that Enzo Fernandez provides with, and therefore Palmer drops down. So not only does he drops down, he moves to the left hand side more, and that becomes a problem as well. And Maresca has a dilemma here. It's good that he's trying out stuff, and therefore you're getting like You can then put the positive things with this new setup and the negatives, and then you can sort of see what worked and what didn't work. But eventually Maresca has to decide what he wants in the end. He can't be experiment for forever. Question is, what can he do? I mean, if he puts Cucurella here, he adds you a left. He will be a left-footed centre back here, which creates better passing angles than if James is there. But at the same time, James is the captain, and that's why he has been playing. How can you not play the captain? And Reece James is incredible player. But there's so many issues. Now we're gonna see this later probably. Because Maresca has been performing well, so you're probably gonna have Net on this side. I would drop this Gusto role because he's not gonna add that attacking threat. He's simply not. You're gonna have to make a decision. Maybe we have to even sell Gusto eventually. Why have players that can't fill a role in this team? Why force them into something they can't do? Maybe eventually Gusto will learn this role and execute it. Maybe. But that's a big question mark, and we just have to wait and see. But if it doesn't work, why force players doing something they can't do? And we're losing massive attacking threat and passing qualities in this team because we don't have Enzo Fernandez and we leaving out the offensive threat in the half space role. So these are some glaring issues that Maresca is facing and needs to address. Like, personally, what I would do in the current moment, putting James here, you're putting Cucurella here. You can do is bring in Kieran Dewsbury Hall, and he will be box to box because that is his position. This is the exact role he was playing under Maresca at Leicester and was his best player there. The funniest thing, we purchased him, he suits perfect into the setup, but he has only played like 44 minutes in Premier League so far. We can't even see him coming off on from the bench. I mean, if this is Maresca's player, why is he not playing? And he can perform this role to a T. Maybe he doesn't have quality enough to play Premier League week in, week out. Maybe Maresca doesn't trust him in the current moment. Fine. But what you could do here, you're getting more balance here because Kieran Dewsbury Hall can fill that role. Palmer will occupy the right half space role. Caicedo and James give protection in the middle, but then maybe James doesn't add that secureness in possession. But what you could do instead is that you're swapping James and Cucurella roles. So James makes the makeshift back three, and Cucurella steps into the midfield. He will step up here instead. You could even give him a support role, and he can even join together with Dewsbury Hall here and overload. That could work because this is what Pochettino tried out. He utilized Cucurella and he was stepping up into the midfield, and we actually won 5 games in a row, I think, by doing so towards the end of the season. That could be a fantastic solution, and then James makes this makeshift back three. He doesn't have to run up and down throughout the whole game and tiring himself and perhaps getting injured. I think this setup would give you so much more balance, to be honest. If you want to be real offensive against low blocks, you're putting in Nkunku here, but you're giving him, yeah, you're putting in Nkunku and you're giving him like an advanced playmaker on attack. Or even support. And then you're putting Palmer on attack. And you're having them in the whole space roles. Or even João Felix. But that is against low blocks that you know you're gonna dominate in most games. Grella going back. Or we could have this, but Palmer goes out here. We have Neto here. João Felix or Nkunku comes into the middle instead. We could do that. And I want to go back to if James gonna make this inverted fullback role, what's gonna then happen with Gusto? Is he gonna try to play this role? Can he play the inverted wingback role from the left hand side as Cucurella does? That could be a fantastic solution. He comes in here, but he's not that great in possession and in the midfield. Or he plays as a winger. Like, what does Maresca want to do in the end? He has to figure it out. Third option would be to have Cucurella here. Gusto here. And he simply just becomes an attacking wingback. Then you can put Enzo Fernandez here. And you give him the deep line playmaker role. In Caicedo, the ball winning filler role. And in possession, you're gonna have. Then you have something like this. You could actually do this. Gusto will become like a wing back instead, and Enzo Fernandez can play his preferred deep position. I'm just trying to think here, what Maresca could do and solve the question he needs to answer on. So there is my explanations and how I'm seeing it from my point of view, the problems Maresca is facing, and the question is, will he eventually figure out what he wants to do? Because he will have to do that eventually. He can't be going on forever and experimenting. Happily read your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below when Chelsea Explained is out. Bye.